Alright, YouTube, today I want to talk a little bit about black slavery. This is not a subject that I'm really an expert on, or don't even want to talk about, but as a child, growing up, um, in the deep south, parents, especially black parents, this was a subject that was hardly ever talked about. They never talked about it, but every now and then they feel like mentioning, yeah, my grandmother, she was a slave, stuff like that. Anyway, mainly I want to talk a little bit about slavery. Is that the majority of the slaves here in this country was white. It's a big cover up here in this country, mainly because big businesses and stuff want to try to work with the whites and to achieve some economic greatness. So, as far as the blacks was mainly brought here because it was blacks was mainly brought to the U.S. mainly because it was illegal for black slave owners to own, say, Christian slaves, not necessarily white slaves, but Christian slaves. So Virginia, I think in Virginia, they got the ball going as far as like making it against the law for black slave owners to own slaves. And after that, blacks slave master, they had to do something. So I guess evidently they made it, I guess, convenient, not necessarily convenient, but they tried to step up buying slaves that they could actually enslave instead of the Christian slave. So they would get people that was not necessarily Christians, meaning, I guess, black people, black slaves, whatever they have on the market, and they would get them, and so they would, like, I guess, kind of bypass the law. But it was a lot of the slave masters was actually women. I don't know how that actually came about, but women does seem to be a little bit more even killed. They're good at managing their business, as far as, personal finances and managing the house and stuff like that. They're real good business people. So the black women, they owned a lot of plantations, and blacks, mainly the Africans that were from Africa, they kind of imported them, more so than did the white. But also they did. There's a couple of people, they grabbed up whoever they could and say, hey, this is a mulatto. This guy came from England and Ireland somewhere, and they said, oh, this is the mulatto. He just appeared. You look at and they just sell a guy. Slavery was a business. It wasn't necessarily just some cruel and mean-spirited type of endeavor. it was mainly for people to make a business, make a profit, and a lot of slave owners they went bankrupt. You know, uh, it was probably a lot of overhead. You know, you had to buy supplies, and you had to, wherever you did, you had to make a profit off of that, or you went bankrupt, just like any other business. Um, but the majority of the slave owners, they usually try to like negotiate with the slave owners. They usually, it was like for 7 years or stuff like that, and then you know, they say, well, hey, you know, here's the deal. You know, you work for me for 7 years. Hey, after 7 years, I'm gonna give you enough money where you can get out on your own and this and that. And then in the meantime, you know, you could probably make a little money here on the side and this and that. You know, if slavery was a business, you know. So they tried to instill in the slave master, in the slave, that hey, you know, this is a business, and you can get in on it too. Hey, you know, after 7 years, hey, well, you can make a little money here on the side while you're a slave too. You know, it's a hey, but it's the law, you know, and you know, just I'm just trying to help you out. You know, hey, you help me out, I help you out. You know, that was generally the ideal of the plan, you know, that the slave owner tried to, I guess, instill in the slaves. Okay, in the northern states too, it was slavery in the northern states, but it's not necessarily a lot of information that's been put out against on that. But it was a lot of slaves in the northern states. I know Delaware was one of the last states. It was a northern state to free the slaves. But also to note that slavery was an institution just about all over the world. There's probably no countries, especially Europe. Constantine enslaved all of Europe. He was a Roman general, I think he was. And he enslaved all of Europe. He made everybody the subjects. And when he like divided up, you know, different plots of land to certain of the dukes and stuff like that, and they had slaves and stuff, so it became more, I guess, refined once the dukes, you know, start, and everybody had to pay, you know, money to the states and stuff like that. So it was business. It was worldwide, I would say. And this was a way for people to actually, you know, make money. You know, it was a business. Say, for instance, you didn't have to have, and plus money wasn't really plentiful like it is now, where a person have like $1 billion on his account and he can go and write a check to everybody. You know, it wasn't like that. It's like you had to carry cash, you had to carry tons of cash, you know, to pay somebody off. But going back to Europe, would probably be more, I guess, refined if we try to delimit it to just say England. Well, England they had slaves. I mean, they didn't just, you know, Constantine was there, the dukes, all the dukes and Those people, they the people who actually had all the land. It wasn't like, they divided up land and must gave people land and stuff. The dukes was actually people who controlled the land. The king was more of a figurehead.